Добрый день, уважаемые зрители! Мне очень приятно приветствовать вас на канале агентства Intellect и очень приятно представить вам сегодня интервью с директором приемной комиссии Sevenoaks школы миссис Стюарт, Арабеллой Стюарт. Ну, вы, наверное, знаете, что 21 июня предполагалось снять все ограничения в Великобритании, связанные с пандемией. К сожалению, вот небывалая активность нового варианта вируса не позволяет пока это сделать. Следующая дата, когда все, я надеюсь, ограничения уже будут отменены окончательно, 19 июля. А пока мы записываем интервью, как весь этот год, в Zoom. И я с удовольствием представляю вам миссис Арабеллу Стюарт с ее рассказом о школе Sevenoaks, о том, почему эта школа так успешна последние годы особенно. Школа очень старая, она была основана в середине 15 века, если я не ошибаюсь, в 1435 году. Но в 99 году, тем не менее, они полностью перешли на IB. Тогда еще IB вообще была очень непопулярной программой здесь, в Великобритании. И вот с тех пор они, как бы, что сказать, по убеждению продвигают программу IB здесь, в Великобритании. И в прошлом году 18 человек, 18 выпускников получили 45 баллов. Это максимальный балл, который возможно получить в IB. Таких во всем мире всего детей чуть больше 300. А, как вы знаете, наверное, во всем мире 5500 школ IB. И вот в этих школах только 300 с чем-то детей закончили, выпускников получили 45 баллов. 18 из них, то есть 5% в одной единственной школе Sevenoaks, которая находится в городе Sevenoaks, в графстве Кент, Великобритании. И, как я еще раз представлю, миссис Арабелла Стюарт отвечает на мои вопросы. Мы специально не переводим интервью, не делаем субтитров, потому что я думаю, что уже очень многие наши родители говорят и понимают по-английски. Тем не менее, если есть у вас какие-то вопросы, если есть дальнейшее желание сотрудничать, узнать, как лучше ребенка готовить, или как сейчас дети учатся, какие отзывы у них, пожалуйста, обращайтесь, мы всегда будем рады вам помочь. Приятного вам просмотра и до связи. Good morning, Arabella, and thank you once again for your time and your willingness to tell about your great school to the parents in Kazakhstan.
It's a pleasure, Maria.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your, one of the best results in the world. The average point was 40.1 in 2020, which is a, big achievement if we compare it with the average in the world, which is 31.33. So you are good 10 points ahead of the average in the world. And 18 students achieved the maximum score of 45, which is, again, a big achievement. And I just like to know, what is the main ingredient in this recipe for this big success of your students, which it's not just 1 year, it's repeating over again?
Well, if you're going to ask me the main ingredient, that would be the fabulous relationship between the teachers and the students. I think it really helps that Sevenoaks is a school that has been delivering the IB. It's, for one of the longest periods of any school in the world. We were a very early adopter, and we are, we've been doing only IB for many, many years now. So I think that globally we attract the best teachers, globally we attract the best students, and we can therefore be very careful in our recruitment of both of those teachers and students in bringing in not only very bright people to our environment, but also very collaborative, supportive, kind and approachable people. So I really do think it's about the quality of the relationships. It's very easy to do well at Sevenoaks.
I'm very glad to hear that, because as a parent myself, at some point I had to answer the question why I have to pay, the big sum every year for my son's education in a boarding school in the UK. And I found the answer. I think the quality and the quantity of high quality teachers is what, makes school different, and why parents decided to send kids to the UK board. So I mean, I'm very happy to hear that you managed to recruit the best teachers in the world. We know that over the last decade, IB is getting more and more popular, not just in the world, but in the UK as well. Although you still stick with GCSE up until sixth form, and then most of the school do IB diploma. But Sevenoaks made a very brave and innovative decision in 1999 when you switched to IB fully. Why do you think this decision was made at this early stage when nobody guessed that IB is going to be very popular?
Well, we could see it from the inside. We could see that the IB is the better education for preparing students for happiness and success, both at university and long-term in the world of work in this century. So A-levels, to our mind, and to a lot of educational philosophers, I think, are outdated. This idea that you specialize so early on your three subjects and cut off those crucial areas for your development from the age of 16. I think neurophysiology research has really come on and has shown that our brains are still developing, still making connections through those years between 16 and 18. And somebody who might be quite nervous about maths at the age of 16 can become a very competent mathematician by the time they're 18. So it's giving the student the opportunity to really flourish and develop the whole of their brain before it's too late, I think.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. I totally agree with you. And I've noticed in my job that the kids now are getting mature later. So, you know, for them to make a decision of choosing just 4 or 3 subjects at the age of 16 is quite early for many of them. So I think sometimes I feel it's not fair. So IB is definitely the best option. They carry on with English, with maths, with science and humanities, and they hopefully will find the best way for them to go in the future. We have a strategy in our organization, which we come up with, you know, in our 25 years. When the headmaster or headmistress is changing the school, we normally wait for a year and see what's happening. So I know that, you know, Katie Reeks was a leader of the school for many, many years. And when she left, we felt, okay, we probably have to wait. But from the feedback from our students and parents at the moment is fantastic. So how the new headmaster was received by the school, and is any changes, you know, happening, or how do you feel about this?
Well, what a year to start leading a school, right?
Oh yeah.
And I have to say, Jessie Elsinger has been absolutely magnificent from the perspective of the students, from the perspective of the parents, and from the perspective of the staff. He's enormously enthusiastic and energetic and positive, and that comes very much across from the sadly mainly Zoom communications that we've been having with him over the past year. But you know, whenever he's been out and about in the campus, fully masked and sanitized, but playing ping pong with the boys and girls, going for runs in Knoll Park, welcoming them to the campus, being around. And you know, I think we all have appreciated his leadership in this year. Looking ahead, Jesse himself was a full scholarship boy at Harvard. You know, he got a fantastic education from the generosity of other benefactors, and he's very keen to work on that aspect of Sevenoaks, of enabling more people from more different economic backgrounds to get this world-class education. He's also very interested in helping our students become resilient. As we all know, you know, our students have had a tough time. They've not only had to deal with this pandemic, but there are also issues around social media and the anxiety that brings up. And, you know, we're all seeing in the news how texts and things you put up in social media can come back to haunt you years later. So I think many children are anxious. Many children suffer from anxiety and other mental health issues. And he's looking very carefully. He's joining a Harvard program of research into how we can best help our students to become resilient and to push past these anxieties and become healthy young adults. And the third thing he's looking at the moment is a sort of ecological one. He's very keen on green matters and trying to do what we can to combat global warming. So he's looking into the school becoming one of the very first carbon neutral schools in the country over the next year. He's working with somebody in industry to help with that.
Well, that's fantastic. It seems like he's very passionate about education, and then I think the main characteristic of everybody who is involved in educating kids. And now moving to your field, where you are the main person of the school admission. Can you please give us an idea? We know that the entrance to the Sevenoaks is very competitive, and it's getting more difficult every year. So, what your advice is to parents in Kazakhstan in terms of entry points, in terms of best way to be prepared for entrance exams? What's your ideal candidate, if I may to ask you? And what chances for scholarship for international students, if any chances? And finally, how to deal with waiting list if your child is ended up on a waiting list? So a lot of questions. I mean, whatever order you want to answer, I'll be pleased to hear.
Okay, so let's talk about the entry criteria. As I mentioned at the beginning of our interview, the top criterion for entry at Sevenoaks is a positive personality type. So we're looking for students who will be kind to each other, include each other, admire each other. Sevenoaks is a place where it's cool to be clever, it's cool to achieve in any particular area. So one of the best things that you can do for your children is to help socialize them, and they allow them time to hang out with their friends, give them a good moral code, encourage them to get involved in service to the community and helping people around, who need their help, to develop their empathy. So that would be my number one tip. My second one is that we look very much for students who are going to take advantage of everything that's on offer. At Sevenoaks, as with all top schools in the UK, the facilities for extracurricular activities, which we believe are hugely important actually in developing resilience, but also fostering interest in other areas, making you into an interesting and rounded person, teamwork skills, all sorts of things, then is this person going to come and really enjoy the challenges? Are they sporty? Do they enjoy debating? Are they perhaps an actor? Do they play an instrument to a high level? How are they going to contribute to the wider life of the school? We're certainly not after students who are just going to sit at their desk and work to maximize their grades. That's not what Sevenoaks is about. So giving your child opportunities and then picking up on which of those opportunities they really enjoy and fostering those and giving them support to get to the swimming club or to do their violin practice or whatever it is, I think is my second tip. The third one, of course, Sevenoaks is a fast-paced school academically, and one of my tasks is to make sure that everybody who comes here can cope with the pace. So it is important that your child is prepared to take the exams, but it is also important that they're not over-prepared, because you don't want to squeak into the school and then find that you're not able to cope with the pace, because that will destroy your academic confidence. So it's much better to be prepared, by which I mean do our past papers, and we have past English and maths papers on the website, so download them, print them off, and get your child to do them under timed conditions, just maybe one a week in the weeks and months running up to the exam. Verbal reasoning is the other aspect. We don't have past papers, but you can buy verbal reasoning books from the internet and practice those. And that way you will be prepared. You might need to have a little boost if your school hasn't taught you very much in algebra, for example, or in comprehension in English, but you really, really don't need to be coaching them wildly for years before the entrance test. That's not the way it works.
What about waiting list?
So yes, so there were two other questions. So the next one I think you asked about was scholarships. Yes, scholarships we can get on entry. We offer academic scholarships and co-curricular scholarships. And the four co-curricular areas are art, music, sport, and drama for 13 plus entry and 16 plus entry, the boarding entries. So anybody can hold an academic scholarship and a co-curricular scholarship, maximum of 2 at the same time. They are not worth a lot of money because we feel that the funds that we have available right now should be diverted into bursaries following a means tested process, and that only is that they are only available for day students right now. But scholarships are all about honour and glory and about recognising and rewarding strong ability in those areas, and also fostering your strengths when you come to the school. So we can explain about those to any parents in a bit more detail during the entry process. We have the waiting list. There are two terms for this. So somebody who approaches us after our tests have taken place, we ask for their reports and a covering letter outlining their interests and enthusiasms, and they're put onto a waiting list. So sometimes later on, for example, over this summer holidays, we might well have people dropping out because of the pandemic, and we might then go to our waiting list and say, you look a fantastic student, would you like to be tested with a view to joining us this September? So a waiting list person has missed the entry process and may be scooped up later for testing. But students who have taken our tests and shown that they would be a good candidate for Sevenoaks, but they haven't quite made it to the place, they are put onto a reserve list. Okay. And that reserve list means you've passed the test, we can see that you would cope at Sevenoaks, but we don't have any spaces. So those people can keep in touch with us from time to time. They can give us their updated reports or information. And then subsequently, if people drop out, we might be able to offer the reserve list people a place a bit later in the process.
Arbala, thank you so much. You explained perfectly well everything in terms of admission. May I ask you, how many years do you deal with candidate in your life at Sevenoaks?
At Sevenoaks, well, so I arrived at Sevenoaks School in 1987 as a biology teacher, and then I was an assistant housemistress and then housemistress of the girls' boarding house. And then I took over in 2003, I took over sixth form admissions. We have a lot of students joining at the age of 16 from across the world. I did that for 5 years. So then from 2008 until now, I've been director of admissions and looking after the whole department.
That's fantastic. I mean, the line of communication and everything in terms of admission with Sevenoaks is so easy and so clear. So now I just have to be grateful for that. The final question, which I also like to ask you, when we visit schools with parents, and we do it quite often, hopefully we'll come back to this regular normal life soon. I always ask parents to pay attention on the older kids, because the older kids, the upper sixth form, is a final product of the school, right? It's what you can expect if your child get accepted by the school. So how can you describe your final product, your best graduate who flourish and successful? How they differentiate from other kids from other school, let's say?
One of the things that we're really proud of is that at Sevenoaks, there isn't an actual recognizable type, really. So the students are given the freedom to flourish in their own way, because we really prize diversity. So there's not that sense that they're going to turn out into clones of each other, but there are some general characteristics. And I would say the main thing is, people often say this in my office to me, I've met some old Snokians and they just seem like really nice, really good people who can just very easily get along with anyone. That I think would be a real typical comment. They're grounded, they're down to earth, they're humble, they're not brash, they're not snobbish, but they're just really nice, good people, but exceptionally well and roundedly educated. So they're interesting and, knowledgeable. Yeah.
Curious and okay. Arbala, thank you so much. I wish you a very successful summer, and I hope we will enjoy and come out of this pandemic and visit your great school again and chat with our kids who are absolutely happy there. Thank you so much once again.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.